Hello, this is Kevin Schoessow with the University of Wisconsin-Madison Extension. I just want to talk to you a little bit about pruning and training grapes. We're out in our teaching and display garden here at the Spooner Ag Research Station in northwestern Wisconsin, where we're a Zone 3 growing climate. This particular variety is called Beta, and I don't know how well you can see this on camera, but this is what's left after the growing season from last year. So this is the canes and the plant material that's left that we need to consider for this year's training and pruning. So this is a Four-Arm Kniffin training system. So we have a top wire and a lower wire, and onto those wires, both left and right, we are going to train and prune out. So we have a fruiting cane on the top wire and a fruiting cane on the bottom wire. So on this particular plant, this hasn't been pruned yet, but you can see there's a number of these pencil diameter chocolatey canes, and those are the fruiting buds or fruiting canes that grew last year from a single bud. And this is what we want to save for our fruit production this year, because grapes produce fruit and flower buds on 1-year-old canes. So those are the canes we want to preserve. Anything else that's old and woody, we want to remove and take out. So the whole concept here is we're going to lay a cane on the bottom, a cane on the top, on both left and right. So when it comes to making decisions on where to start pruning, I always start with the easy decisions first, and then through the process of elimination we can get to the final decision on which canes we want to leave for each of the 4 arms on this Four-Arm Kniffin. So I'm going to start on the lower left side of the plant, and again through the process of elimination I'm going to kind of whittle this down, if you will, to the remaining cane that I want left on this bottom wire. So we have actually several, like as in 1, 2, 3, 4 very nice canes that we can use for our replacements. So right away this tells me that anything that is not connected to these 4 canes can come out. So the first cut I'm going to make is I'm going to remove last year's fruiting cane and just get that out of here, and that will again make it a little easier to see what's left. I'm always amazed at how much growth comes off of an individual plant. Okay, so with the fruiting cane now removed, now we can start making some decisions on which one of these we want to keep. So like I said, there's lots to choose from, and when I make these decisions I'm always looking for the nicest looking as far as diameter and color and length and just overall health. So just between these two right here I can tell you that this one is not as nice. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that off, but rather than cutting it off right at the base, I'm going to long prune it. So now we're just going to get rid of this cane, and you can see I've left about 3 buds onto that, and we'll shorten that up later, and that'll be our renewal spur for next year. So we're going to leave this one. Here's another short cane that I'm going to renewal spur. Take that out. That was only about 4 buds long. We've got another cane that's originating from the other side of the plant, way down low. Could be used as a fruiting cane, but I like the way this one is attached, so I'm going to go with that. So I'll get rid of this one. And again, I'm taking out a really nice fruiting cane here, but we've got others to replace it. So now again, through the process of elimination, I'm thinking that this one here is not as substantial. I'm going to just take that back to here, get that out of here. So now we're down to 3 options for this bottom wire. And now it's just a matter of which one has the best attachment point So this one here I see right away comes up and arches. It's further away from the trunk. I'm going to go ahead and cut that back all the way to the beginning of this arm. Take that out. Again, this was another very long, beautiful fruiting cane, but was not the one that I decided to keep because it wasn't attached quite like I would have liked to seen. So now this is where you could almost flip a coin and decide which one do you want to keep. Both of these are very healthy looking. They're the right diameter, they're the right length. But we can only really keep one to leave on this bottom wire. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it attached, the one to keep that's attached directly to the trunk. So I'm going to go ahead and take this one off. We've got some renewal spurs here to work with, so I'm going to go ahead and take that off. And now this will be the cane that we'll put on this bottom wire. We can attach that with a little rubber twisty just to hold it in place so that it's in the right position, and maybe give it a little wrap around the wire on this end. So there's the bottom one. So now when we go up top, we got the same process of elimination. We've got a number of chocolate wood to choose from on this top wire, and these short ones I'm going to go ahead and short cut them to stubs so we can use those as renewal spurs. So that's what I'm doing now. And now we have to decide which one of these we want to keep. This one comes from way down low. Get rid of that one. This is a weak one. Again, I'm just leaving one or two buds on these pieces for right now. This is the last year's fruiting cane, which originated from way over here. So I'm going to just get rid of that for now. And now I got to be careful that I don't damage the remaining cane. Okay, so here we have a cane that's already kind of laid on the top wire. So there is our fruiting cane for the top wire, and I'm going to cut this off close to this post because we only really need to keep about 10 to 15 buds, and there's just not enough room to keep all this stuff in place. So there's the left and right on this particular Four-Arm Kniffin. So now I'm going to just do the same process on the other side. Again, where we've got really short canes that aren't going to be useful for fruiting canes, we're going to cut those to 1 or 2 buds and just leave them as little stubs. So I'm going to cut this one back. I'm going to leave this one actually to 1 bud. And wherever we got the opportunity to leave a renewal spur, I like to do that. And this is the initial pruning. We can come back in a few minutes and kind of clean some of this stuff up later. But for right now, we're just trying to establish the fruiting canes for the top and bottom wire. So I've got a fruiting cane up here that's in a nice position. I got another one here. So we do have options on the top wire. So then the next thing I do is I'm going to take out last year's fruiting cane. That's all kind of woody and paper barky. So I'll cut that off. Again, you just have to be careful that you don't damage your replacements while you're removing this. So you got to be a little bit careful in extracting it. All right, so this was last year's fruiting cane, and now it's, like I said, a 2-year-old piece of vine that's starting to get bark and getting kind of woody. So that's the stuff we want to prune out, and we want to save this pencil diameter, what I call chocolate brown colored canes that grew last summer. So we've got actually 3 options up here that go back to an attachment point. and then we've got another one up here as well. So the challenge with this plant is we've got a little bit this formation. It's not textbook picture perfect, so we've got a bunch of other side branches coming off here that we might be able to clean up here once we get all done. So I like the fact that we've got a fruiting cane that's coming directly off of the head of the plant, and that would be this one here. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this one because it's coming from the other side. So I'm going to just go ahead and take that one out. All right, there's some short ones here I'm going to spur. Again, leaving 1 to 2 buds on that cane. All right, so now we still have 3 canes that we can consider here, and both of these are coming from down low. And I really like to keep the fruiting cane connected to the trunk where it's originated by the top wire. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to spur both of these, take these long canes out, make them into 1 bud spurs, and hopefully those will provide us some replacements for next year. So what I've left here is this one about 12 bud cane that's going to go on this top wire. It's connected to the head, and then I'm going to just think about this, clean this up. Here's an old spur. I'm going to take that off. So I've got 2 spur renewal spurs right here and another one back here. So that can provide replacements for next season. So the top wire is done. Now we just need to make the decision on what to do on the bottom wire. So again, wherever we got small diameter, not very healthy looking canes, we can go ahead and cut those back to 1 or 2 buds, and that will be a renewal spur for next year. So here's a short spindly one. I'm going to cut that off, again leaving a little renewal spur. And now we need to take a look at our replacements. So here's one, starts down low, arches right up to the bottom wire. There's another one over here that I think is another good option. And then of course we have last year's fruiting cane, and that's the one that I'm going to remove right back to the base. I'm going to again leave a little bit of a stub so maybe we can get a bud to break. So this would be last year's fruiting cane, and now we've got these canes to replace. The other thing that's part of this plant, and this is kind of that insurance, if for some reason I felt that this didn't look like it was healthy enough, we could train a replacement. But this plant is looking fairly healthy, so I'm gonna get rid of this sucker that grew up here and was left last year. So that gets cut back right to the ground. All right, so now we've got our fruiting canes to choose from, and this is where you just toss a coin. There's really none that looks any better than the other. I do like the way this one lays. So again, I'm going to cut the one I don't want off back to 1 or 2 buds, leaving a renewal spur. I'm going to spur that. So there you have it. We have a cane on the top wire. We have a cane on the bottom wire, left and right. And we have multiple renewal spurs that were left to provide replacements for next year. So this is the final cuts, and this is what this plant looks like after it's been pruned. I want to just give you a little closer up look at some of the pruning cuts and what this plant looks like closer. So again, down here we have a fruiting cane that goes onto this wire and another fruiting cane that goes onto the bottom wire. But here are those 2 bud renewal spurs that I left. There's one that's on that side of the trunk, and there's another one right here. So we've got several renewal spurs that will hopefully give us buds, and those buds will make a cane for next year. If we go further up on the head of the plant here, again we have this side branch that we left, and that's where the fruiting cane originates. But you can see there are multiple what we call 1 or 2 bud renewal spurs that I left for giving us replacement. So our hope is that this bud right here will sprout, and if it wants to go in this direction, we'll lay the cane off in that direction during the growing season. There's a bud over here. If that breaks, we want to train it up to this wire. So up on top we have the same thing, renewal spurs, and then the fruiting cane. So this is a Four-Arm Kniffin on a beta table grape at the Spooner Ag Research Station, northwestern Wisconsin.